welcome to FireStride. Thanks everyone for being here this week. Of course, as always, we have some fun stuff that we're excited to share with you. So I'll share a really fun update from the community side, and then I will pass the mic to Aiden, and he can kind of talk us through some of the just sort of the kind of milestones that we're feeling excited about and what we're thinking about as we start to close out the year and move into 2024. Some thoughts that we're having about what we think our growth as a company will look like by then, and then a couple integrations updates. So I'll get us started. So, as you guys know, the Stride Support Lab, our awesome team of lifeguards, has been working really hard to create excellent resources for you guys and provide top-notch support. And I really hope that you've been able to feel and experience that with your time in the server. But we're so lucky now that we finally have an official support lab homepage. And so I know that like we have one technically linked in our helpful links and stuff, but it hasn't been a very sophisticated page. But we actually have a new official Stride Support Lab page as of this morning. So you heard it here first. This is like super brand new. Like we haven't even gone in and swapped out any links. So if you were to check in our links on Discord, for example, and you click the Support Lab link, it's not going to take you to this site, just so you know. It will get there. But right now, I share this link with you first. Feel free to explore the new Stride Support Lab. This was worked on by a lot of people on the Stride team and the Stride lifeguards. We hope that it feels really comprehensive to you. It has everything that you could need as far as I can see. But of course, it's just in its earliest version. So it has plenty of time to grow into something more robust. If there's anything you see missing or something that you think would be a greater efficiency to it, please let us know. And we'll totally adopt that and make it meet your needs. But I hope it's really cool. One thing that you guys should know about the new support page, and you might have noticed in the server if you've opened a support ticket, but you used to only be able to open a support ticket through Discord using our ticket tool, and that would open up a chat with you and a lifeguard. But now you can actually open a support ticket directly from this homepage. So you no longer need to have a Discord account to open a support ticket, which is irrelevant to this group of people because you guys all have Discords, obviously, because we are on Discord together. But maybe tell your friends if they are trying to use Stride but don't want to make a Discord. But yeah, thanks Moons, especially. Moons really made this possible, and our designer Lovis, who isn't here right now, but he made it really beautiful and aesthetically aligned to our brand. So hopefully you guys like it. But I'll pass on the mic to Aiden now, and Aiden can talk to you a little bit about the state of Stride today.
Yeah, totally. The support lab site, the new one, looks incredible. It's such a huge upgrade from the last site, and yeah, I'm really excited about it. Also, the fact that anyone can open a ticket now is amazing. I feel like maybe 20% or 30% of our users are on Discord, but there's just tons of people who aren't. So yeah, this is like a huge upgrade. Really excited about this one.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks. I'm really excited too. I was thinking that I feel like, especially, like if you have a Discord at all, like that probably shows that you're just like I just imagine that like that the group of people on Discord versus the group of people trying to explore DeFi who don't have these like social media servers that like we all use to get information and make things easier for us. Like I can imagine that they maybe have been struggling in certain ways. So it'll be really cool to capture that audience and make them feel supported. And yeah, I do think it's a very beautiful interface. So very excited about it too.
Yeah, totally. All right, let's kick it off. Let's talk about TVL. So Stride's TVL is at an all-time high. Confluence of factors. Internally, for a bit of context, there's two ways to think about TVL. One way to think about TVL is atom-denominated TVL. So if you just take all of Stride's tokens and you convert them to atom, think in atom terms. That's one way to think about it. The other way to think about it is in dollar terms. So if you take all the tokens that Stride has and you convert them to dollars, internally we try to think about things mostly in atom terms because we're very crypto native. And thinking about growth in terms of Atom terms, it shows more true adoption than thinking about dollar TVL growth. Because like if crypto prices 10x, then your TVL 10x's, but it doesn't actually mean like you did anything right. But if your Atom TVL, or like take your token of choice, it could be ETH or Bitcoin, but process Atom. If your Atom TVL is growing, that means that you're probably actually doing something right because more people are depositing their Atom. So even if it's a bear market and prices are going down, if more people are depositing Atom, that's still a positive sign for Stride. And in the past few months, both Stride's Atom TVL and dollar TVL has grown quite a bit. I'm sure you've all noticed that the crypto markets are up a little bit. And I think Stride's Atom TVL is also up by something like 50%. So combination of crypto markets being up like 100% and Atom TVL being up 50%. Stride's TVL hit, I think, like $65 million the other day, which is truly incredible. Just a year ago, we had $5 million of TVL. And to put this in context in the broader Cosmos ecosystem, Kujira, Osmosis, they both have something like 100 mil. I think Mars, Umi have somewhere between like 2 and 20 million. And there are a lot of other Cosmos apps that have less than that. There's probably also a few that I missed, but Stride's TVL is definitely getting quite high. It's not the highest in the Cosmos ecosystem yet, but it is definitely up there. And the other exciting thing is with liquid staking tokens, a mix of TVL and staking yield translates to revenue. So Stride also hit $1 million in annualized revenue very recently. And this is a huge milestone. Stride launched just like a little bit over a year ago. And hitting $1 million in revenue is, it's just a big moment. So very exciting for Stride. And hopefully in a year, maybe Stride will have 10x its TVL again, and then we can have a little celebration when we hit 10 million in revenue. But for now, this 1 million in revenue is very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Thanks for breaking that down too. I think that definitely thinking about things in atom denominated terms, like I feel like whenever I've been like doing my personal kind of evaluations of it, it's always easier for me to think in dollars just because that's, like that's the currency that I am most familiar with. But actually,
What,
when
you don't pay for your groceries in Atom yet somewhere?
That's funny. That reminds me when we were in Colombia for Cosmoverse like last year, I remember seeing a couple of restaurants that were like, you could pay for your food in crypto here. And I was just like, I don't know why that felt so crazy to me, but I thought that was pretty wild. Someday we'll be paying for our groceries in Atom. But but yeah, I mean it is I feel like we did this breakdown in one of our team meetings kind of recently where we like toggled the transition between them, and it was actually really cool to see kind of all the growth inputs, I guess you could say, that really make that really like create that composition, if that makes sense what I'm saying. But yeah, thanks for breaking that down. So what are you thinking about our positioning going into like 2024? Like what do we see our growth looking like, and what do we see as our foundations that are really going to carry us to be really successful and fruitful in the next year?
Yeah. Well, I think we all hope that in 2024 we are taken into, if not a bull market, at least not like a terrible bear market. I think 2022 was really bad. 2023 has been like sort of up and down. There was some excitement earlier in the year. There's been some excitement these past few months. So I think at this point, I feel like we're all kind of ready for a little bit more excitement in the crypto space. And if that does happen, I think Stride is in a really good position. So currently, Stride is the leading liquid staking provider in Cosmos, as I'm sure we all know, and it's aligned with lots of the major Cosmos chains. Something like 2% of all stake on Cosmos Hub is staked through Stride, and that's actually the lowest. On Osmosis, I think it's something closer to 4 or 5%. On Evmos, it's 10%. So It's still very early for Stride, but I think we are starting to see much more liquid staking adoption, and only expect this to grow through time because, as we all know, liquid staking has tons of advantages over vanilla staking. Stride has about a 90% market share for all major Cosmos tokens: Atom, Inj, Osmo, FMS, Juno, etc. And yeah, liquid staking, again, I think it's still very early. For Atom, it's just 1.5% of atoms are of staked atoms are liquid staked. But there are lots of new DeFi use cases being created in Cosmos. There are other use cases which are less explored, such as restaking, which could also drive a lot of demand for liquid staking tokens. So I think there is a potential future where the tokens that Stride supports, like Atom, Osmo, Inj, in the future DYDX and TIA as well, have something like 100 billion or more combined market cap. If you just look at like the 2022 high, I think the staking market cap for all of the IBC connected chains was above 50 billion. So it's like, it's kind of an insane number when you say it, but we have been there in the past, and if Cosmos does take off, I think we could get back to there. So if I think in like one way to think about Stride is if there is 2 billion TVL, so if there's 100 billion staking market cap, but if Stride has conservatively 2% of that, that's 100 million in annualized staking rewards for the Stride protocol, which is pretty astounding. I mean, today we have Stride has 1 million in staking rewards being distributed, but with 100 million, I mean, there's just so much that Stride could do. It could continue to all go to stakers to secure the network, or maybe part of it could be diverted for research initiatives. It just really broadens the scope of impact for Stride. So pretty exciting to kind of think about how Stride's positioned and start to think about, if we do get back to like 2021 or 2022 levels of crypto excitement, along with these new exciting chains that are launching like DYDX and TIA, where that could take Stride.
That's awesome. I see the chat going off, so I'm gonna pull open the chat, but I see Taranjeet said this is topical because there's a crypto guru on Twitter that was posting about TVL this morning. What? Oh, it was you. You're funny. There's a crypto guru, aka yourself. That's awesome. Taranjeet, did you have anything that you were like that was kind of making you, really, really specifically focus on this? Like, I mean, obviously it's really exciting because the TVL is higher than it's been before, but yeah, do you have any thoughts that you wanted to share? No pressure. I know I just totally put you on the spot. He says, I check DeFi Llama every morning, and Moon says, seem like we're stuck in the 30 million TVL range for such a long time. So it's awesome to see such a big jump.
Yeah. Another thing I would say is I think a lot of, I mean, I think this is probably true for like lots of startups, but with crypto especially, I think there is a lot of potential energy, and protocols have to be ready to turn that potential energy into kinetic energy. But like it can happen over a very short period of time. So like Coinbase is the classic example of this. Typically crypto volumes, they'll spike, they'll like start to climb for like a year, and then they'll spike in this huge crescendo, and they'll go like 5 or 10 or 20x in a very short period of time, and then they'll plummet back down again for many years at times. And if you're a company like Coinbase, say, where your main revenues come from people trading crypto, both your infrastructure and like employee base has to be ready for that huge spike in demand, and you never really know when it's going to happen. So I think like this is true to an extent in all industries, but especially in crypto, things are so volatile that I think the best thing to do is kind of like just always focus on continuously improving and being ready for huge spikes in demand. And I think that's a lot of what we do at Stride. We just try and make sure that the protocol is as secure as possible. Like, today there's only 50 or 60 million in TVL, but we think about a future for Stride where it has, say, $10 billion in TVL, and we try and design it so that it's secure enough for that eventual future if it does happen. And then the same for integrations. Like, lots of these integrations that Stride works with are very small today, but they could really take off if there's more demand for leverage or if crypto prices spike generally. So I would say, yeah, like Stride definitely was stuck in that like 30 million TVL range for a while. And it is very exciting to see it spike. But it's really hard to predict like when the big crypto booms will happen. So we just try and make sure we're prepared if or when they do.
I think that's a good philosophy, and I'm sure everybody who follows us might agree with that. I see Taranjeet has an interesting comment in the chat. It says, I would love to carefully utilize these increased funds to diversify. Tether, for example, uses 15% to buy BTC. If community agrees, I could develop my Commonwealth proposal further. Do you have thoughts on this, Aiden?
I don't know. I think what Stride does with its revenue is a very interesting question. I think the simple choice that the Stride community made last year to divert all of the rewards to stakers was pretty interesting, and then to divert some of that to ICS also seemed prudent. I mean, I think Stride, like, in terms of how much Stride spends, I think Stride has the best security budget per unit of expenditure, maybe in all of crypto. Like, it spends a reasonable amount on ICS, but it inherits massive security, so that seemed very smart. And then in terms of like doing additional things, I'm not sure. I think it's an interesting question. Could be a good research topic for the forum.
Totally. Maybe we'll take this last question, then we can move on to the rest of the updates, just so we can stay within time. But Shabu Shabu asks, how do you see what Stride offers versus what Neutron is going to offer with its liquid staking?
Yeah, I haven't. So I know Neutron is thinking of offering wrapped staked ETH. I think that is pretty different, not too competitive with Stride. Did Neutron announce a different liquid staking product recently?
I think they're all typing. Injective has many LSDs coming, and
yeah, while people type, I'll talk briefly about Injective. Injective does have many LSDs coming, and for the next few months, STI&J is going to be a big focus of ours. So I know John from our team has been thinking a lot about where to best integrate STI&J and how to create more demand for STI&J. So historically, I mean, the past like 6 months, we were just all in on Atom, and now we're starting to broaden our focus a little bit. STI&J is at the top of that list.
Awesome. Well, yeah, maybe we could dive into that a little bit. We could talk about like some of the ST Engine integration use cases that I know that we've been chatting about behind the scenes, and then maybe we could talk a little bit about ST Osmo on Mars. And if there's anything to update with DYDX, I'm sure people will be really excited as well. But yeah, feel free to kind of navigate that list that we have here on our agenda, however you want, Aiden.
Totally. Very briefly, to tie up the Neutron thing, I think at one point Lido was planning on launching on Neutron. I don't know if that's still the case. I haven't heard from them if it is. They might launch at some point, but for now, we're just focusing on making Stride's products as good as possible and not focusing too much on the competition. Diving into ST-INJ, there are a few new integration use cases that should be coming soon. The first is trading on Levana. So I'm sure we're all familiar with Levana. It's really taken the Cosmos by storm. It's a GMX-style perps protocol where you can deposit LSTs or other tokens and then trade perps of the token that you deposited. So STINJ, we're talking to the Levana team about integrating STINJ on Levana. So you'll be able to trade STINJ perps on Levana. Super interesting. Then the next two are Neptune and Umi. I'm not as close to Neptune, so I'll have to follow up with Riley and John to learn more about this one. And then on Umi, I think their Oracle Ojo network has recently integrated Astroport as an Oracle, and most of the STINJ liquidity on Injective is on the Astroport DEX. So now that Umi's Oracle knows how to use the Astroport DEX as an Oracle, Umi should be able to support STINJ collateral. So talking to the team about that as well. Those are the main STINJ updates.
Super cool. Yeah, hopefully. And I see in the chat, Shaw asked, what's up with STN's liquidity seems really shallow. Do you feel like that is going to like hold us back from like any sort of progress with integrations, or like what do you think about where we're at with our STN's liquidity?
Yeah, SC recently some LPs seem to have pulled their STINJ liquidity. I think this is also something that John is looking into. I don't have too much information on that right now, but deep liquidity is definitely required for integration. So it's possible that if the integrations require deeper liquidity, that the incentive budget will be used for that liquidity.
Yeah, interesting discourse in our chat about that, but yeah, we could probably chat a little bit about ST Osmo.
Let's see. Yeah, I think it was I think it is the STINJ liquidity did come from the Injective team, or the Injective Foundation, more specifically. So not totally sure what happened there. But again, I think John is reaching out to them and chatting with them and checking in on what happened. But I know that the Injective team is very excited about some of these integrations. So my guess is like there was some internal restructuring with the way that their foundation was doing things, and I'm sure that's we will figure the liquidity situation for STINJ out. Moving on to ST Osmo. So ST Osmo is going to be collateral on Mars Protocol, so on the Red Bank's Osmosis outposts. This is super exciting. It's been a long time in the works, and the Osmosis POL was a big part of what made this happen. So Stride has 20 million Osmo. It's the ST Osmo pair from the Osmosis community pool, and that is used as the backbone for the ST Osmo liquidity, so that ST Osmo can be used as collateral. In general, protocol and liquidity is very exciting. I think this is something that's very unique to Cosmos. So all of that liquidity has been deployed to the ST Osmo pool. ST Osmo is very deep liquidity. So yeah, exciting to see ST Osmo on Mars. The ST Atom LTV has also been increased on Mars from 55% to 70%. That means you can borrow more against the same amount of ST Atom. And the way that this worked is actually pretty interesting. Stride added redemption rate contracts to Osmosis. So the internal protocol redemption rate is the rate at which you can trade ST Atom for Atom or Atom for ST Atom on Stride. And by exporting the redemption rate to Osmosis, the Mars team was able to add some additional safety features to their ST Atom lending market, and that increased the LTV. So it was a fun story of collaboration between Stride and the Mars team. And with a little bit of technical work, the LTVs were able to be raised. Yeah, I think those are the main Mars updates.
Awesome. Very exciting. Yeah, that's cool. I didn't, I feel like I've only been in Cosmos for a year, so over time I'm learning kind of what exists really in a long-term way here and what has existed in crypto for a long time. But I guess I didn't really realize that POL was so kind of specific and unique to Cosmos. Like, what do you think like drove that adoption here as opposed to in other places?
It's mainly the fact that Cosmos chains have community pools, and the community pools can deploy the tokens in their community pool to do different things. Other chains typically don't have community pools or a governance structure that can do something like that. So that's one piece. And then the other thing that's unique is the pairing for LSTs, like ST Atom Atom, ST Osmo Osmo. They're pretty low risk because there's very little impermanent loss. Like if the Osmosis community pool started LPing USDC Osmo, they'd be at risk of impermanent loss. If the Osmo price went like way up or way down, they could end up with more or less Osmo than they started with. But with ST Osmo Osmo, they're pretty much guaranteed to end up with like roughly the same amount of Osmo or even a little bit more than they started with. So for there's still the protocol risk, which is always present in DeFi, but there's less market risk for LPing liquid staking token pairs.
Okay, that's cool. That makes sense. And I see Moons asked in the chat, could the same Oracle contract be used to update the ranges in a concentrated liquidity pool?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's actually two contracts. One contract is the redemption rate contract. So Stride writes the redemption rate to Osmosis. The other contract is a scaling factor contract. So in stable swap pools, there's a center point on the stable swap. This is called the scaling factor. And I believe I think SC Osmo is the only stable swap pair that is using the scaling factor contract right now. But currently, updating the scaling factor, typically it happens through a multisig, but for SC Osmo, it's actually being done by the protocol already. And I think it could also be used to update CL positions, although CL is a little bit trickier. So I would have to think about it a bit more. But it'd be a good question for someone like Quasar, or I think even like Mars is and the Delphi team are creating some vaults. So it'd be a good question for them.
So we're a little past time, but I think that if you want, we could go to 12:48 in and just walk through the last couple updates and then take any last questions. Does that work for you?
Yeah, let's do it. I'll run through the remaining updates. So a few things, few integration related updates. I think you will soon be able to mint USK on Kujira using ST Osmo. That is a huge update and very exciting to see more usage on Kujira. Kujira is a super cool platform. I always love seeing the Kuji fans on Twitter. There has been a huge uptick in ST Atom collateral on Interprotocol as well. So 96,000 ST Atom backing something like $365,000 of IST has been deposited. Thanks to everyone who participated in the community campaign between Stride and IST on OmniFlix. More than 3,500 participants, which is huge. And stay tuned for more to come next week on this. And then the final update is on DYDX. DYDX, I think, is now in their beta period with trading live. Super exciting. The chain is up, functionality is working, and we opened a pull request to their repository, which adds interchain accounts. This would enable liquid staking for DYDX, and it would enable us to launch STDYDX. I think currently their team is just very focused on getting trading live and making sure that nothing breaks. But hopefully sometime in the next couple of months, they'll be able to merge in the interchain accounts PR, and then STDYDX will be live. Yeah, those are the remaining updates.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Aiden. Yeah, that's really exciting. it's cool that we just I know it's like always a goal of ours to maintain a strong and positive presence across the ecosystem. And I just feel like it's great to hear so many projects mentioned and knowing that our ST tokens are going to be available to be used in some way in so many different places. But yeah, we have a couple minutes left, so I'm going to let people come up and speak. Yeah, I'm going to take the first speaker up. Welcome to the stage. Thanks for coming today.
Hey, thanks for having me and for doing this. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Yep. Okay.
Awesome. Sweet. Just want to say, first of all, the Stride team, I think, is one of the best teams in all of crypto, and the updates are great. The FireStride Chats are always awesome. That being said, it's a nitpicky criticism, but I just want to throw it out there, and that is, the only reason I'm bringing it up is because of how good you guys are about transparency. I would say that an area that's lacking is what you kind of mentioned about the ST engine liquidity. I was asking about that earlier. Because I think that's just been this aberrant kind of factor in all of the Stride team's transparency. Like when that pool came up on Astro, I think within a week or two, like immediately there was like $1 million or more than $1 million in liquidity. And you guys were kind of hush-hush about where it came from. I think I asked a few times, and finally someone was like, oh yeah, maybe it was the Injective team. And that made sense to me, but I thought it was a little odd that there wasn't an announcement about it, and there wasn't a lot kind of talked about it. And I feel like in the similar fashion, it got pulled recently, and you answered to the best of your ability, but I feel like there could be better transparency about that. And I don't know if that's like influence from the Injective Foundation about kind of not being super widely advertising about that or whatever, but I think that's, again, super nitpicky thing. I think 99.9% of what you guys do is awesome. I would just, especially if you guys are, like you said, Aiden, making a push into, ST engine integrations and stuff, I think the transparency could be a little bit better about how that liquidity is working and such. That's it. I'll shut up now, but thanks.
Yeah, totally. No, thank you for the feedback. That is very, very good feedback. Yeah, I think as we start to add more STI&J integrations, you're totally right. It's important to be transparent about where the liquidity is coming from and how it arrived there. Up until this point, we haven't shared too much about it, mainly because it wasn't our liquidity, and we were kind of negotiating getting that liquidity into the pool, and frankly, like the way that the LPs provide that liquidity, the reasons are also not always clear to us. So that's the main reason we haven't been able to be super transparent about it, is we don't have all of the answers ourselves. But I agree, as we start to get ST-INJ integrated in more places, I think having a solid, predictable base of ST-INJ liquidity becomes very important. So yeah, feedback well taken, and hopefully we have a more sustainable source of liquidity in the future, and then we'll also be able to share more about it if and when it's more sustainable.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think the landscape might be changing, with the VE Astro wars kind of coming up, and incentive mechanisms, new incentive mechanisms and Astroport and stuff like that. But I mean, the reason I'm making a point of it again, A, is because you guys are so fantastic about transparency, and this is a little bit of a anomaly. And then B, I went to trade some ST engine back into Injective this week to do some DeFi stuff, because I put all my Injective into ST Injective, and I realized, oh crap, I'm stuck in ST Injective unless I want to unstake, because the liquidity on Astroport just disappeared overnight. So it kind of became and then I talked to a friend who's also a big Stride person. He's like, yeah, he's like, I realized that same issue like 2 days ago. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is a real issue. So anyway, thanks again.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for the feedback. And yeah, we'll make sure going forward that the STING base liquidity will be a bit more transparent and predictable. This is also one of the huge benefits of POL and protocol and liquidity. You have really strong guarantees from the protocol itself about how long the liquidity will be there. So I think that's like our ultimate goal is to get some STINJ from the injective community pool and then have some kind of structure where we know it's going to be there for 3 or 6 or 9 months or something like that.
Yeah, thanks for answering that, Aiden, and for kind of clarifying that. I know that has been something I've seen people chat about a bit in general too. So the response and transparency are appreciated, and I'm glad that the feedback is well received. I think, guys, I think if there's no other pressing questions, I'm gonna call it here just because we're a little over time. But yeah, if there's any last minute thing left on your mind, feel free to drop that in the chat. But otherwise, it's been lovely today. And thank you, Aiden, for coming in and sharing all of the updates and giving us some food for thought to be excited about. But otherwise, yeah, we'll see you guys next time. And yeah, stay tuned for updates from me, of course, in the announcements channel.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting, Summer.
Yeah, anytime. All right, bye, guys.
See you guys.